Hi, it's Laura with Following the Paper Trail, and it's What's Up Wednesday, or Thursday as the case may be for some parts of the world. But anyway, I get a lot of questions about how I do things and what I like to use and that sort of thing. So I decided to do a back to basics kind of day today and kind of show you what some of my favorite products are, what are things that I use pretty much on any mini, and how some of my processes are and that sort of thing. I might do another one down the road on how I put together stuff to make a mini, but I thought I'd just do kind of some basics. First off, before I get started though, I do have a couple of thank yous to send out. I absolutely thank each and every one of you that sends me comments and encouragement and such positive energy. It is all absolutely, without a doubt, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. I wish I could answer each and every one of you on a very personal basis, but I would be spending the entire day and night at my computer if I did so. So I want to say first off, thank you to everybody. But I have a couple of special shout outs. First one is to Marlene down in Florida. Yesterday she sent me a little goodie package, and she didn't have to do that. I've never gotten anything that was a just because. So I thank you, Marlene, for sending me some wonderful pampering things. Marlene is the one who won my poinsettia mini, and she certainly didn't have to do that, but I really appreciate it. The other one is to Diana, who lives in California. She recently moved to California from Nevada, and I got an email from her yesterday that so totally and completely touched my heart. She had me in tears by the end of the email. And I just wanted to give her a special shout out and say thank you, Diana. You really touched me, and I just appreciate your very kind and sweet words, and I'm sending you all sorts of positive love and energy. So thank you to Diana. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. I thought first off I'd start out with some items that no matter, even if I put them away, they're out almost immediately. These are some of my gotta have, use them all the time type of items. First off, Tim Holtz clear ruler. I love the fact that it's clear. It reminds me of some of my quilting rulers. I also love the fact that not only does it go from 1 to 12, but it also goes from 0 in the center for figuring out the center of things. Love it. Not really excited about the dots along this line because I like to measure 1/4 of an inch, but you know, I can deal with that. And it also has a metal edge for cutting. Speaking of cutting, I get a lot of questions of how I cut things. I use an X-Acto for a lot of things. In terms of cutting my paper, I've got my Fiskars. Let me turn it so you can see it. This is Fiskars, slide cutter. I think everybody's got some sort of one of these. I like this one because it goes, here's the 6-inch mark out here, so it's a little bit wider than 6 inches. And when it's, you've got the extra extender thing that flips out. But this one is a little wider than 6 inches, and I love that for doing minis because many times I'm working from 6x6 papers. So this is my favorite for cutting papers. For cutting chipboard and such, many times if it's a shape, I just use my X-Acto. I have one of the self-healing cutting mats left over from my quilting. It's one of my old quilting ones that I use that's on my desk all the time, so I can cut on that. But I can also, another good idea to cut on is a piece of glass. Now this is about 1/4 inch thick glass, but you can also just buy an inexpensive frame and take the glass out of that. Now it's not going to have a nice polished edge the way this one does. You can also, there's God, I can't think of the name of it, but there's several manufacturers that have them, that have a grid printed on them, that sort of thing. But you just need a piece of glass because it's going to be a lot easier on your blade when you're cutting on that with the X-Acto. It's also just a lot smoother. Your blade's going to last a lot longer. If it doesn't have a nice polished edge, you can just take masking tape and cover the edge. I also suggest using a piece of this non-skid. You can buy this stuff at grocery stores and that sort of thing to put under, and my phone is ringing, but I'm going to ignore it. So you can just put that underneath your glass, and it helps it from sliding around. So anyway, that's kind of some of the things I use for cutting. Some of the other things that are always on my desk. Oh, one other thing in terms of cutting. When I am cutting my chipboard into squares, because I buy it in big sheets at an art supply store, just a local art supply store. You can also try framing shops. They might also have it in big sheets. I use my rotary cutting and rulers from my quilting. This is kind of, it looks like a big pizza cutter for those of you who are not quilters. It slides back. It's essentially an X-Acto blade in the round, and you're cutting. I just find I get a lot more vertical cuts when I use this. It also, I can get good pressure on it, and I can usually make my cuts in a single cut, whereas with an X-Acto, it's multiple cuts. But I do use the X-Acto for fine cutting. My paper piercer tool, which I call it the pokey thing. But this thing is great for just poking and piercing and holding things down. I use this constantly. In fact, this is my second one that I've had to get because the first one I broke the tip off of because I was using it to dig something out of a hole on one of my Sizzix dies. So, you know, not exactly the best tool for using that. So, bone folder. Awesome. And I recommend getting a true bone folder. This one's made out, this one could be plastic rather than actual bone, but you want these good, strong, stable ones. I started out using the one that came with my Cricut, but it's plastic with a little metal tip on it, and the metal tip started coming off. So, you know, this is all one piece. It's hard plastic, great for folding things, you know, pushing things around, that sort of thing, but definitely have a bone folder. I also, for pencils, like to use mechanical pencils. They have a little bit sharper point on them. You don't have to sharpen them, that kind of thing. You can mark with them really lightly. Another thing that I love to use is I think this is Making Memories. It comes in a little tube. It's got some little files in it and stuff. I love this, but you can also just get fingernail files. But I love this for cleaning up edges and finishing edges and I'll show you how I put paper on chipboard. After I put the paper on the chipboard, I then use this to also clean up the edges. Scissors, I have a pair of the tonic scissors. I have a pair of just standard scissors. But again, from my quilting background, I love these little Fisker snips. I think I have about 10 of them around my house because my kids are always stealing them. They're only about 15 bucks, but if you use your Joann's coupons, you know, 40% off of that. And so I love to use these. They're spring loaded. Since I have carpal tunnel that I have to have surgery on eventually. They're really easy on my hands. They also have a really nice sharp point. Easy to cut with for fine detail type stuff, like cut my little monsters the other day. They work great for that. And they're not so expensive, so they're not too bad. Let's see, how am I going to do on time? I'm going to end up probably being in 2 different videos for this one because it is amazing how fast 10 minutes goes by. Let me talk about adhesives real quick. My favorite adhesives is my ATG gun. I have the red one that uses the 1/4 inch tape. I have used the ones that have the 1/2 inch tape. I don't like them nearly as much, but that's a personal preference on my part. But I use it with the ATG gold tape. That is the acid-free tape. I personally do not skimp on my adhesives. I may throw everything but the kitchen sink in my minis, but my adhesive, I'm really careful about what I use there. My other favorite liquid is the Zip Dry paper glue. It is very similar in how it acts to rubber cement. And I've used rubber cement for about 1 billion years for paper. In fact, it's amazing that more people don't use it for paper because it is an amazing paper product. But the Zip Dry has very similar qualities to it. I'd like that after you put it on, you can rub it off the excess. And it dries really quick. But this is my favorite liquid adhesive. Also, you've also seen me using the terrifically tacky red tape. I have it in the 1/2 inch, the 1/4 inch, the 1/8 inch. And I use this a lot for my paper bags, and attaching my paper bags. Because I find that if you need something to really stick, this is the product. It also comes in sheets as well, and so you can use that. So what I'm going to go ahead and do right now is stop this now and do a part 2 and talk a little bit more about some processes. Stick my hand